Hi, it's Tom here from Tom's Talk Time. Today I'm doing an interview that I've waited a long time to do. I'm interviewing Narelda Jacobs, who is a Channel 10 newsreader here in Perth. She's WA's first openly gay and Indigenous newsreader. She's been doing the job for 8 years. I can't wait to have a chat. Keep watching. Okay, Narelda, welcome to Tom's Talk Time. This interview is one that I've been looking forward to for a long, long time. So thank you and welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me. What an honour.
How exciting. Now, I'm going to start the interview by just reading out a list of facts about you.
Okay.
So your name is Narelda Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
You have a daughter named Jade, who you raised as a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
You are WA's first openly gay and Indigenous newsreader for a commercial network. You've had a 16-year career at Network 10, so 8 years on the road as a reporter and then another 8 years behind the desk at Channel 10 in Perth.
Yep.
You live in Mount Lawley. You're involved in a mentorship program with the Smith family and you do a lot of work with Indigenous youth. Mm-hmm. You're also a patron of the Motor Neuron Disease Association of WA, as well as an ambassador for the David Wirrapunda Foundation, Breast Cancer Care WA and the Disability Services Commission.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, well done. You've done your homework.
Well, what a busy woman. What's life like for you?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but when you break it down, what I do here at 10 is what I do, basically. Like, it's quite demanding from the time I step in to the time I go home. So it's awesome to be able to be involved in all those charities and community groups. But it might only be, 1 or 2 events every now and then.
Now, I want to go back to sort of the very start. You're one of 5 children, and tell me a little bit about your childhood, your mum and dad. What was life like growing up for you?
Oh, it was an awesome childhood. I was the youngest of 5 girls, so I was the baby. So I had lots of love, always kisses on my cheeks, which was just awesome. Just for a child to grow up knowing that they are loved and belong in such a close family that love them and, is amazing.
And what about your mum and dad? So your dad is Indigenous, is that right? And your mum's from European
Yeah, mum's
descent?
British. Mum's British. And she came out from Ireland when she was about 7 or 8. And actually, when my dad was about the same age, he was taken away from his parents and put in a mission. So he's a member of the Stolen Generation. Yeah. So quite different backstories, I guess, for my parents, but they met when they were in their early adulthood because they were both doing church work, actually, and working with Aboriginal people, and that's how they met. So, yeah, a really interesting background.
And you've spoken in the past about sort of knowing that you wanted to be a journalist from the age of, I think, grade 7. Yep. Now, when I was about that age, there was a television advert and a radio voiceover that you did, and a sentence stuck out to me, and I still think about it almost every day. You said, if I didn't go to school and if I didn't then want to go on and have another passion and follow my passion, nobody was going to walk into my lounge room and say, oh, hey, Narelda, why don't you come and be a newsreader for Channel 10? You'd be really great at Channel 10. Tell me a little bit about your journey from having that goal to then, you've made it here now.
I'm so glad you heard that and it resonated with you, because for a lot of people, it's hard to get up in the morning, especially when you've just finished school and, you've had time frames and you've got to be at class and you've got this next, and then all of a sudden you finish school. It's like your dreams get a little further away kind of thing, because it's not so regimented as high school or university might have you. So you're left to your own devices, basically. And that's where some people might go wrong and think, oh, it's all just a bit too hard. It's not going to happen, so let's just do something else, sort of thing. But you can do it. It's just a matter of getting up in the morning, doing something, and when you're doing something, things do happen to you.
And they sort of fall into place as well, don't they? The more you do things, the more doors open. Now, it took you, I think, 3 times to actually get into the WA Academy of Performing Arts where you wanted to study. Yeah. Being knocked back twice and then going along for that 3rd audition requires a lot of sort of passion and perseverance. Tell me a little bit about what your advice would be to people now that are getting setbacks.
I auditioned straight out of high school, so I was still 17 when I auditioned for WAPA, so I got knocked back the first year. It wasn't, it was devastating, but I guess when I look back now, it wasn't much of a surprise. And then I auditioned the year after that and got knocked back again as an 18-year-old, and so I was doubly devastated, and that's when I sort of think, oh, let's just put it on the back burner. I was pregnant as well. I had a baby, and I was working in the public service because I thought I better get a job here, a proper job, or a real job, So I got a job in the public service, and that's where I was for about 5 years until my boss told me again, why don't you audition a third time? Because I guess it had sort of been, I'd kicked it down the road a bit too much, and she pulled me back and said, hey, remember that dream you had? How about giving it another go? And it was only because of her encouragement that I auditioned again and got in.
How fantastic that you had someone do that for you.
Yes.
That's great. And I suppose for you now, you're reminded of that, because often it is that person bringing you back that makes you go for it.
You can only get yourself so far, I always think. You might have all the motivation and determination in the world, but sometimes it's just those moments where you lose sight of it. You need someone there to say, you can do it, I believe in you. You really do need other people to have faith in you, but for other people to have faith in you, you need to be willing to learn from them.
Let's just sort of talk about your life away from the news. So you live with your partner, Lauren, who you've been with for over 4 years now.
That's right, yes.
Now, especially right now across Australia, there's a lot of debate and conversation about marriage equality. What's your stance on that? I'm assuming you want the option to get married.
Yeah, yes, we would love to get married, and even though I can't get too political because I have got to remain unbiased in my job, I guess all I need to say is, Lauren and I would like to get married one day.
The 21st century, the modern world, we've come such a long way for all people in terms of acceptance, equality, but the fact remains that if you are a gay person, which you are and I am, we're sort of automatically put into this minority group or this subcategory. Do you see it as important for you to be the face of the gay community or represent them in a way, or do you prefer to keep the two things separate, your career and then your personal life? It
comes down to pigeonholing, I think, and one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given in my whole life was by Joe McManus at the Academy of Performing Arts. As an Aboriginal person, I wanted to, my dream job was to be on Message Stick or one of those Indigenous magazine type shows, and she said to me, why do you want to pigeonhole yourself? You're not just Aboriginal, and I wasn't really out as gay, as gay then in such a big way. But you could be a talented reporter and even a presenter. I don't know if she went that far, but it really shook me a little bit, and I was like, really? Could I be more than what I think I can be? Because of her advice, I aim for up here rather than just kind of staying down there, sort of thing. So I think it's really important that we wear all the different hats we wear, but be ourselves. And it's important that people see you as Tom, and not as gay Tom.
Absolutely. And I've been saying that for so long.
Yeah.
And it's really funny you say that as well, because the same sort of thing, my sort of, I suppose, mid-teenage years, probably when I was coming to terms with who I was, I just remember looking at you behind the desk. It was a career sort of aspiration that I had. And I remember looking at you being so profound, so professional, so dignified, reading the news, but still also happening to be gay. And it wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm doing this because. It just went along with it. And looking back, it was important. And I suppose it was pretty comforting for me to see you in that position. So,
And that's where I think it's more powerful that way, because members of my family are born-again Christians. And so that's a battle in itself, let me just tell you. We just don't really talk about it much, but I know the beliefs and, you know, how they feel about gay marriage and that sort of thing. So I know that there's that sector in the community. Now, if I was just out proud all the time, and that's all they knew me as, they might be more dismissive rather than knowing, oh, that's Narelda, the respected reporter or whatever, and then, oh, is she gay? Or is she Aboriginal? You know, the Aboriginal might be a bit more obvious, but it has more power that way when they just happen to find out, because then it questions their whole belief system.
One of my roles is as a breakfast newsreader at RTR-FM in Mount Lawley.
Cool.
Now, there's some mornings where I rock up to the radio station and need to write the script, and something devastating has happened the night before. Now, for me, I'm lucky. I can sort of just have headphones on, look down at the page, read through it, sort of acclimatise myself to it. For your job, it's more of a visual representation as well. So tell me about some of the harder stories and how do you get through it without falling into a heap on the desk?
You have to watch it beforehand. That's really the only way you can get through it. I cut the updates during the day, so I write the news updates throughout the day and cut the pictures. So I've usually seen all the pictures beforehand.
Yeah.
And so many times, you know, I've written the updates and cut the pictures, and you see things for the first time, and tears start welling in your eyes.
Yeah.
And especially teenage boys when they go to a crash site where a mate's died, you know, that always chokes me up to see boys, you know, hugging and crying with each other, you know, any sort of emotion, to be honest. Parents who've lost their children, you really have to watch it beforehand. That's the only way you can get through it. But the trick is to not be completely desensitised that you read it cold. You still have the right amount of emotion.
Absolutely.
And remember that emotion, don't ever forget it.
And we've seen the change in journalism, the rise of technology, citizen journalism, you know, people on iPhones uploading things.
Yep.
I've spoken to a few different newsreaders, both on Tom's Talk Time and in other forums, about where they think the weekly, nightly bulletin is going, or where they think newspapers are going.
Yep.
What's your opinion? Where do you think news is ready for the next 10 years or so?
I think people will still want to get their news from a certain place. Social media is fantastic to get a glimpse of it, but you want to be able to see the pictures in full, really. And I think people always want to tune into the nightly news. That's just how I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who still aren't very savvy with technology, and there's a lot of people sitting at home waiting for the 5 o'clock news to come around. So I think there'll always be a market to tune into something. You know, whether it be on TV or whether you just pluck it out of the air or something, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know, whether you just go like that and all of a sudden it appears. But
no, it's getting it from that sort of sense of authority and that regular routine place as well, I think,
and
isn't
also
it?
the role of news is also to prioritise, you know, you know, you have to tune in at the beginning to see what is the most important story of the day, because that's part of our job as well, is by prioritising the bulletin, you know, the lead story, what goes second, third, fourth, you know. We're telling people what we think is the best or biggest news of the day, what you need to know. So there's always going to be an appetite for that. Rather than just searching everywhere to find out what's been going on, you need to be able to watch a bit of a package deal.
Finally, Narelda, you are a Perth girl, born and bred here in WA, very WA proud. I mean, you know, you go to the Logies wearing amazing WA designers, MC fantastic Perth-based events, which is great. If you had someone, say, never been to Perth before, what would be your ideal day for them? Where are some of your favourite places?
I love to explore all the little new bars that are opening. Melbourne and Sydney think they've got it so over us. But if someone from Sydney or Melbourne were to come to Perth, I would take them on a small bar crawl through all the different laneways and little places that you would never think there's something in. A bit Melbourne-esque, you know, and then by the end of it, they'll go, is this Perth, or, you know, have I been missing out all this time? It's awesome to see the change in landscape happen so rapidly and dramatically. It's incredible. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like we're really coming of age. It's fantastic. So it's a good time to be in Perth.
Now, thank you so much again, Narelda. It's been such an honour. People can catch you at home every day at 5 o'clock till 6 o'clock, Channel 10 News. Follow you on Twitter at Narelda Jacobs 10. And keep doing great things. You are such a strong member of the community, and so many people look up to you. So thanks for having a chat and keep it up.
Thank you so much, Tom. You are destined for stardom.
Thank you.
Thank you.